Hi, I'm Morgan Turner, Health Education Assistant at the Human Development Institute and Special Olympics athlete and athlete ambassador. This series, titled Morgan's Musings, is dedicated to learning about disability, health, advocacy, and leadership from all different types of people. We will talk with disability self-advocates, caregivers, and parents, and people that work with individuals with disabilities. We hope this series of interviews help teach you to become a leader and a self-advocate in your own unique way. Hi, I'm Morgan. Welcome back to another episode of Morgan's Musings. Today I'm interviewing a very good colleague of mine, Priya. Thanks for letting us interview you today, Priya.
Thanks for having me today.
All right, let's get started. Can you tell us a little about yourself and about the job that you do?
Sure. So my name is Priya Chandan, for those who may not know me. I am an assistant professor at the University of Louisville School of Medicine. So in that job, I get to spend some of my time teaching medical students and medical residents. And I also get time to spend on research. So I get to work on research projects, and that's how you and I first met, was on a research project.
Mm-hmm. In Louisville.
In Louisville.
What made you want to have a career in the health field?
So I'm a physician, so I spend a lot of my time thinking about health. But what led me to health initially was I noticed growing up, my older brother, Ankur, hi Ankur, has Down syndrome, and he is somebody who's always thought that health was really important. And so he's always been somebody who works out all the time and really tries to stay healthy. But what I noticed is that there were some opportunities that I had that he didn't in terms of staying healthy. And so I wanted to go into the health field so I could learn more about how to help him and help people like him stay healthy, because health is a right and it's important for all of us.
So to help you and help your brother learn about health more, and he probably enjoys that you are helping him learn more about health, maybe that some of the stuff that he doesn't know, you know, and he can ask you about.
Yeah, we definitely learn from each other. So, you know, I know some things from my medical training about health, and he knows way more about how to work out properly. And so, you know, he gives me advice on that, and I give him advice on different things. And so together, we kind of really take on our health journey together.
Can you tell us about your role with Special Olympics?
Sure. So I wear a couple different hats with Special Olympics. So I am a board member for Special Olympics Kentucky. I'm also a clinical director for MedFest, and I'm also a cheerleader for my brother and his sporting activities. So I get to also, you know, in addition to professional hats, I also get to wear the personal hat of cheerleader and go to his sporting events and support him.
What does self-advocacy mean to you?
So to me, self-advocacy means being able to speak about your experiences, because when it comes to telling your story, nobody can do it better than you. And so because I'm interested and I do work sort of with people with disabilities, one of the things that's important for me is that people with disabilities get to tell their story. Because if I'm talking to somebody with a physical disability or an intellectual disability, I don't have those experiences. And so I can't really know what that's like. So it's important that self-advocates tell us. First, that we ask them. We need to do a better job of asking self-advocates. But self-advocacy is basically where you tell us. And so for me, self-advocacy is using your voice to tell your story.
And why is it important?
So self-advocacy is incredibly important because if you don't tell your story, how am I supposed to know what that's like? I can't know that information unless you tell me. So self-advocacy is important because in order to really understand you as a person and to understand groups of people, we have to listen to their stories. So I see my role, I'm not a self-advocate in the disability sphere. I don't have a disability, so I rely on self-advocates. I rely on people like you to tell me what is that experience like. And it's important because I can't get that story right without you. I need you to tell me to tell that story because it's a story only you can tell.
I also think it's important because maybe this person with a disability can't speak for himself, but just because he can't speak doesn't mean he has a lot to say. So even though he can't speak, he has a lot to say, but can't say it. So in a way, self-advocates or advocates are their voice in a way.
Yeah, and I think we forget, like, to your point, just because someone's not speaking, that doesn't mean they have nothing to say. And there are other ways that people communicate, and you won't pick up on it unless you're listening. And so I think that, it's important to be a supporter and to try to listen more than you speak. So I sort of see that as my role, is to try to amplify your voice where I can. But self-advocacy is important because you need to speak up for your own experience without somebody else doing it for you. And, in the case like you're a leader in this role, and so you speak about your experience for others that might not be able to. And that's an important thing, and that's something that you can do that I can't do.
So what do you think makes a good leader?
So a good leader, two things. So first, a good leader needs to listen. I always like that, we have 2 ears and we have 1 mouth, so you should listen twice as much as you're speaking. And not just listening like we all have the tendency to do, to kind of like zone out and be like, I wonder what I'm going to have for dinner tonight, but really listen. And active listening is an important skill, and it's one that you really have to work on. And so listening is an incredibly important part of being a leader. I also think that as a leader, you should always be looking out for the win-win in any situation, because if your team is doing well, then you as a leader, that's a success for you as a leader. And so as a leader, your job is to support your team and make sure that your team is successful. And part of that support is recognizing who has what expertise. So if you put together a team, you probably did that because people are good at different things. So as the leader, you need to try to support everybody on that team towards whatever common goal you're working on. And by lifting others, that's how you lead.
So what do you like the most about your job?
That's an easy question. What I like most about my job is things like this. So opportunities I have to get to listen to and to learn from self-advocates, whether that's in research, whether that's in teaching. As you know, on a previous project, we've done that a little bit of both, right?
Yes.
But working with self-advocates is my favorite part of my job.
And me being a self-advocate, I love getting to hang out with you and working on projects with you.
Right? It's so cool that like we get to hang out together and do some work, and it still counts as work, but also it's friends just hanging out and spending time together. Like, to me, that's the coolest part of my job is I get to hang out with my friends and call it work. It's not so bad, right?
I've always heard that if you do something you love, you'll never have to work a day in your life.
Absolutely, and I love the parts of my job that allow me to come work with you.
Who is your hero or someone you look up to?
So my hero is definitely my brother Encore. And the reason he's my hero is because he lives his life with honesty, with integrity, and with compassion. And that's something I aspire to do in my own life, and he sort of sets the example for me in sort of how you treat others and how you live your life. So he's my hero because I'd say he's taught me the most about those things.
what are some ways that you stay healthy?
So that's a tough one, right? Because we all want to be healthy, but sometimes it's hard to fit it in, especially if you have a busy routine. So for me, if it's difficult for me to kind of like get to the gym or do, things in that way, I try to build it into my routine. So I do wear a step counter, though I don't have it on today. I wear that to kind of keep track, because if I'm not careful, I can easily spend like 5 hours sitting in front of a computer. So I try to keep track of my activity level. It helps too, because I'll check in with family, and my brother's always a good motivator, because I'll check in with him and he'll say, oh, like I just got back from the Y, and like here's how much I'm lifting these days. And it'll kind of remind me like, oh, I haven't moved in 5 hours. So I try to just be active, to just move when I can. I'll also, like park far away, and use that as an opportunity to get in some steps, and try to build in activity when I can. And then in terms of staying healthy when it comes to food choices, that's also hard, right? Like that can be difficult. But what I try to do is to be open to trying a lot of different foods, because there are healthy options. And it's just a matter of finding the ones that you like. It turns out there are healthy foods that taste good and that I like. But, someone had to introduce me to that, or someone had to say, hey, have you tried this? So the more I learned about food, the more I'm able to find ones that I actually like and that are healthy.
Yes, I think it's important to have someone to motivate you, or to tell you about this, because if you didn't know that there were healthy foods at different places, then you wouldn't know that there is healthy foods that you would like.
Absolutely.
Yeah. What advice would you give someone that maybe wants to work with someone or people with a disability, but maybe they don't know how to start out?
I would say, so my first piece of advice is that everybody should work with people with disabilities, because you learn a lot.
Yes.
And in terms of, if it's your first time or you're just not sure, treat them like you treat anybody else. Talk to them like you talk to anybody else. It's not really all that complicated. And I think, communication is a big piece of everything that we do.
Yes.
And so just communicate. So, if you're not sure how to phrase something or how you should talk about something, ask the person with the disability, right? You can tell me, hey, can you tell me like how you would prefer to be greeted? A recent sort of conversation I had with my brother was to say, hey, how do you communicate best? Like, do you like it when I call you, or is that overwhelming? Because like sometimes I talk fast, and for him, he thought text was helpful, and so texting is how we love to communicate. We love to text each other, but I would always ask somebody new that I'm meeting, say, hey, this is me. This is how I communicate. Tell me about you and how you communicate, so that we can get that right from the beginning, and get to know each other.
I agree. People with a disability, I can't speak for all of them, but a lot of them don't want to be treated exactly like everyone else. So I like how you give them an option of how do you communicate with this person, because everyone's different, and that's okay.
Yeah, and learning how somebody communicates is important, and it's a really important part of getting to know them as a person.
Yes.
So if you are in the state of Kentucky, so when I first met you, I was new to Kentucky, and I didn't realize what a big basketball state we are in.
Yes.
And I didn't realize the rivalry that exists. But so part of getting to know you guys as people was getting to know which side of the UK U of L rivalry you were on.
Yes.
Now, some folks that we met, that we worked with on that first project, were a little more reserved as to who their team was. Some people, like you, weren't quite so reserved and made it pretty apparent from day one that you were Big Blue Nation all the way. But that's an
Yes.
important thing I needed to learn about you.
Yes.
You know, if anybody who knows Morgan and can't say that like he's a Cats fan, you don't actually know Morgan, do you? Right?
No, not really.
So that was an important thing to learn. So communication is important because how else are you going to get to know somebody if you can't communicate?
Yes. Well, thank you, Priya. That's all the questions I have for you.
Well, thank you for your time today and for inviting me to this interview.
Yeah, no problem. And thank you all for watching. Be on the lookout for more episodes of Morgan's Musings. Remember to subscribe to our YouTube channel. Go to our Facebook page, Wellness, the number 4, KY. And be on the lookout for more videos. Thank you.